If you get right down to it, everybody's nerdy. Everybody's nerdy about something, whether it's a sports nerd. You guys are here during rodeo season. If you get anywhere near the Astrodome area, you will see a different kind of cosplay. People with hats this big and belt buckles that prevent you from even tying your shoes. People are nerdy, and by nerdy I mean enthusiastic about all kinds of different things. And because what we do is different, we're an easier target. The whole idea of cosplay is to dress up like a character you love, or you enjoy, or maybe you hate. But to dress up and have fun walking in the shoes of that character for the day. Some people take it to the extreme, are in character all day long, and that's hysterical, provided it's, not a detriment to anybody.
It's amazing. It's like
to see everybody who likes the same stuff as you.
Yeah, and they're all like, and you can see people pointing, and like for the first time, it's like they're not pointing because you look weird, it's because you look cool.
At anime conventions, we're gamers, we're nerdy about music and anime and video games and all those things, card games, and you'll find people that are into the things you are, and if you show an ounce of gratitude, you'll get an ounce of gratitude back. In some cases, you'll get a cup or two.
It was really cool when I first went and realizing that people recognized who I was, and they liked me because I was that character. For that day, you kind of become that character, and you'll pose like them and just interact with people in a certain way that's completely different from how you normally are. Like when people stop in like, hey, can I get a picture with you? Oh, I love your cosplay. It's just such a good feeling. It's not something that happens just on the street. Like people don't usually like tap you on the shoulder and be like, oh, I love the way you look today. Can I get a picture? Like that'd be kind of weird.
You can have a kid that leads the most sad life, who is picked on at school, who might not have a great family situation, but on the weekend he gets to be Kenshin. On the weekend he's this brave warrior. He can live out, even if just for 3 days in a hotel, he gets to be this bravest warrior. Something about doing that lifts the weight of the world off your shoulders for just a little bit of time.
When I see characters I like, there's something I can relate to. I love the ruffles, the flamboyant, the glitter, of course, glam bam cosplay. I can't dress like this outside. I can, but many people won't accept it that way, which is fine. But when I have the opportunity, I like to go big.
It is a very overly friendly environment, but as you go to them more, you start noticing the cracks in that perfect image of a con.
The neat thing about this community is we have forever been a safe haven against that kind of behavior. We have been a place where you could be socially awkward, where you could cross-dress, where you could walk around with your nose buried in a book all weekend and this community has been a safe haven for so many of us that have our own little quirks that might not be the social norm. But as we see in our numbers now, we're just as big a crowd as anybody else. And to take that away from us, to give us no place to be ourselves, I think kills a part of you.
It's realistic to expect not everything to be sunshine and rainbows, but it was like, oh, why are people being mean to each other like this, or why is this drama happening? I mean, it's becoming a big thing, but people still don't always understand what cosplay is.
The cosplay community is a complicated one because a lot of people go to cosplay to self-express, to find who they are. But within that community, there are people who are very supportive and there are people who are very judgmental. And the judgmental can do a lot of damage.
At my school, we have anime club, and sometimes we have like a little cosplay party. And so when you're in class, you're the only person, and they kind of talk about you, and you can hear them sometimes. Like, what is she wearing? What does she think she's doing?
If they cosplay, or people know that they cosplay, their families, their other friends, or just random kids at school or work will talk behind their backs or to their face.
People tell me that I can't because of my skin color, so like they won't like be mean about it. They'll just be like, well, I don't think you should because of that, and they kind of just discourage you from it.
There are people who judge us for it. Like, I'm sure this character is as white as paper. I'm sure there's gonna be someone here who's gonna look at him and be like, that don't look nothing like it. It's like, well, that's too bad.
One of my favorite characters of all time since I was really small has been Storm. I mean, obviously I'm not black, but I don't think that should hinder me from cosplaying Storm if I want to.
You don't have the right skin color, so you shouldn't cosplay this character. Or you don't have the right body type, so you should be like ashamed of yourself for putting shame on that character and making them look bad and pretty much that kind of stuff. I get that all the time.
You wouldn't want someone to come up to you and tell you, oh, hey, you can't be this character because you're such and such weight.
I think if you really identify with a character or you really like the design of their costume and you feel like you can make it or want to buy it or whatever, then you totally should be able to.
But I've been harassed because my cosplays are more risque. So I've had some people just like look at my chest and I'll be like, my eyes are up here, you know what I mean?
Being groped in public too, I've actually had that happen to me before too at ASIN, like just in a crowd, and it's just really scary. Like, it happened and I thought it was one of my friends who was with me and I was like, did you just grab my butt? And they were like, no, and like, that's one of the scariest things in the world, I don't know, just to be violated like that and for no reason. It's not just me, it happens, you know, to girls everywhere.
One really kind of terrifying situation go down. We had a young female cosplayer that was being followed around by this older guy, and he was getting closer and closer, and it was making everyone uncomfortable. And just when I was about to go, is anyone gonna do something about that? I saw two guys come over and start talking to him, and they just let him out of the building.
If you go to like Jessica Negri's Facebook page, she has like I think almost like 2 million people that like her page. Well, a lot of people like it just so they can see her post a picture and then talk about her boobs or say mean things about her.
League of Legends, that community too, can be pretty bad. There's a champion select screen where you type and you talk about like what character you want to play or, you know, your strategy. If it somehow comes out that you're a girl, they tell you you have to support. Just being told what you have to play based on your gender just isn't right.
I crossplay all the time. I have yet to recall a character that's female. Surprise, this is not a lady. But basically that is the biggest problem. Just because you cosplay, people start making assumptions that you are obviously homosexual, which is nothing wrong, but it's unfair to be, you know, assumed like that and treated like, oh, you're a weirdo because you dress as another gender.
Like this guy, he entered a Halloween costume contest and he was cross-playing, cross-dressing, and nobody liked him, and he went on forum. He's like, I can't believe nobody liked me, and then people just berated him. They're like, oh, it's because you're a guy, why are you a girl, and stuff like that. So they were making fun of his sexuality.
Recently even, it's been changing a little because I feel like the fan groups are getting a little bit more segregated. Like there's nowadays like My Little Pony and Homestuck.
One convention I dressed up in like a character that I really appreciated, but I didn't have the best cosplay, and people would come to me and tell me what I've done wrong, but they kind of gave it in a negative way, like cursing and things like that, and the way like I felt after was pretty horrible. Like I didn't do the character anymore, and I've been beat up one time. Like a group of kids came to me and like they started like reading, I don't, like, it's hard to explain because it hurts a lot, but like when you said that, I was like, oh my god, I need to do this because I know where I'm from. Like, people are really, really mean. It's inappropriate. Like, you shouldn't be acting like that, but it's just for fun. You're just trying to make other people happy and yourself too, because that's just how it should be. You should just feel like you're somewhere you should be, not somewhere that makes you feel like you're just an outcast. You shouldn't feel like that.
I had someone come up to me one time when I was in this cosplay, minus the tie, and they're like, your cosplay's wrong. And I'm like, was that really necessary? Like, I know what Miku Hatsune looks like. I know this isn't right, but this is what I have available to me. I don't really have a lot of money. I can't afford to spend a lot of money on a cosplay. And I'm not really good at putting cosplay together. I can't really sew very well. That really that was my first taste of how people could be rude or kind of mean at a con.
I know another voice actress that has gone to conventions in costume. She went to one convention dressed as a Sailor Scout, and they were like making jokes about she was a little too old to be a Sailor Scout. And I thought, well, the real Sailor Moon is in her 40s. But as the crowds have gotten larger, so has that behavior kind of crept in.
And that's partially also why I started catering myself towards mascot costumes, because I'm obviously getting older and there's a certain stigma against older cosplayers. So I just felt more comfortable spending more effort making a grandiose mascot costume, and that way no one will be able to judge me because they don't know who I am. And to me that's a little more enjoyable. I get to observe people at their most natural because they don't know who I am. They can't judge me. Oh, he looks bad or he looks great. They just see the costume, which is the purest form of what I feel the art is.
As many hugs and photographs and compliments I gotten all day, that really put a damper on it. It was like, who are you? Why did you feel the need to do that? It was the tone she used when she said it that really got to me.
Is this literally tinfoil?
Duct tape!
You take foam and Under Armour shirt? You are definitely your rank for best worst cosplay, sir. It's a category.
What? It's better than your cosplay.
A really good friend of ours recently just posted a really great article, a girl by the name of Erica, and it was a picture of her in a Sephiroth costume a bazillion years ago, and it was her first attempt at costuming, and it was just jeans and a leather jacket, and she's sitting there drinking a Coke, and she wrote in her article, she said, I never thought this picture would see the light of day, but I'm so glad no one gave me a hard time about my ratchet cosplay. It was, the best I could do, and had anyone made fun of me, I would have probably run from this environment and never tried again. And then she put it next to her new, Sephiroth costume, which is gorgeous, and the jacket's customized, and she's got this beautiful wig on, and I've heard a lot of stories like that. The minute you start telling someone that something they're doing is wrong, or that you're not allowed to do this, that does something, whether it be psychologically to that person or emotionally or whatnot, that makes that person feel less than the rest of everyone else.
Because it is kind of an escape, because people come here to enjoy themselves, it's a really unwelcome thing.
The first thing that someone who is being victimized has to do is learn to cognitively reframe what's happening. So you have to learn to say to yourself, I'm being bullied because others are choosing to be mean. And they are using a certain characteristic of mine as justification for their mistreatment. Once you start to cognitively reframe what's happening, it helps free you a little bit from some of the feelings of insecurity, pain, depression, grief, and you can work on healing and moving forward.
What if someone was super, super depressed and they're at a convention, but what if they have suicidal thoughts? And some random person comes up to them and says something really terrible, and that person ends up trying to hurt themselves because of that? You never know what your actions can do to another person, what your words can do.
Some of the worst bullying will actually happen online. So you might go to a con and people might not say too much to you, but then you'll find later that your picture is on a site and people are making disparaging comments about you, cyberbullying you. So one of the things we find is that the anonymity of the internet ratchets up the cruelty of attacks. So if you are a cosplayer and you find that you're in a site or a chat room or a feed or some kind of online interaction that feels very hostile and hateful, be mindful of that and exit that arena. Take yourself to a place that feels more accepting and more kind, because there are certain sites within the geek community, within the cosplay community, where there is more hate than other places. So you want to find a place to hang out that feels safer for you.
This is the only thing saving some kids' lives, then what does that do if you make them feel unwelcome here? If this is the one place where they might have a shot at everything, it's a pretty horrible thing to take that away from them.
I mean, obviously there's always going to be societal norms, so there's always going to be a stigma. But in my life, anyway, I've discovered that if I am willing to take the criticism, then I can do whatever I want. It means it's a double-edged sword. If I'm willing to put myself out there, I also have to take the good with the bad.
You have to remind yourself that you can be what you want to be, and you don't need to let others define for you who that costume should be. You know, it is your interpretation. It is your interpretation, your work, your costume, not someone else's.
Ultimately, you're not cosplaying to make other people happy, although that is a benefit. You're cosplaying to make yourself happy. You know, it's how you want to look, it's how you want to feel.
I mean, I would just say it really doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, people can say hurtful things, but when you look at the mirror and you are proud of what you made or what you did, then why does it matter what everybody else thinks? Because the world is just like that. People are like that, and you shouldn't have to hide from it. I mean, people shouldn't treat you a certain way, but sometimes they do, and you can't control their actions, but you can control yours. And if what you do makes you happy, then that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be yourself. I do it at the detriment of my health sometimes, living in Texas with pink and green and blue hair. Although luckily, thanks to Hot Topic, it's not so strange anymore.
Everyone feels insecure if they can't be themselves. Like, you don't really have well-established relationships with people. You build better friends if you're yourself, truly yourself.
Don't stop being who you are because of one idiot or two idiots, or in my case, thousands of idiots. Just be yourself. In the long run, hanging tight onto your values and who you are and your friends is what gets you through the day. And if you don't have any friends, I would say look around you at an anime convention. If there is a kid in an anime convention, that is a kid that has the potential to make friends.
When I cosplay, I usually pick characters that bring me joy because I look at the character and I feel a connection with them. And I sit there and go, I want to portray this person to the best of my ability. And that may not be perfect, but it makes me happy trying. And that's why I cosplay.
It turns out I'm just a little bit different. Never been a sheep, I'd rather do my own thing. It turns out I'm just a little bit different. No, they wanna hate, I really don't blame them. I'm just a little bit different. Always been this way and I'm just really proud to say it. I'm just a little bit different.